Hello, powerful one. Welcome to this edition of Inner Growth Tutusezwa Elimi. How do you rouse and sustain your happiness? You see, as a human being, you are a perpetually happy being. That is your nature. Happiness is your birthright. But as a result of occurrences, events around you, you tend to gradually lose your happiness as you journey on the track. It's like when you start a journey that is to be made on foot. When you start, like our people will say, when you assume a weight at the initial stage, it's not so heavy. But over time, as you allow the weight to stay on you, then it begins to become heavy. So is life. A child that is born as a bundle of joy, a bundle of happiness. As they begin to journey through life, society, family, all of that, parents begin to beat happiness out of them, scream happiness out of them, advise happiness out of them, teach happiness out of them. As they journey closer to adulthood, they realize that the things that they once enjoyed are now burdens, because somewhere inside of them, programs exist which tell them that those things are not to be allowed. For example, you have to be happy because of your achievements. If a child wrote an exam and he didn't have a good grade, the parents scold the child. Some who are violent by nature beat up the child. Again, others who are violent by nature, who prefer to apply psychological torture to the child, speak negative things to the child for days to come. Associated families and friends tease the child because the child did not do well or did not score good grade on an exam. All of these things come together to let the child, let the adult, let the human being understand that happiness is a consequence of actions. But the truth is, the first step you need to take in order to get your happiness back, to wake up, to rouse your happiness, because the happiness is not dead, it is just drugged by negative belief. So the first step to get that happiness back is to understand that happiness is not action based, it's not result based, it's not achievement based. Happiness is your natural right. It is just like the blood that courses in your system. It's just that. Except that the blood count can be reduced by you not eating the right food, by employing the wrong lifestyle. Now, in the same way, the wrong lifestyle that society has sold to you, the wrong mental food that society has sold to you over the years, have come together to edge your happiness out of the center of your being. So you are looking for it in various actions, in various achievements, in various acquisitions. You can find it there. You can find a momentary boost of action when you confirm the belief of society concerning happiness by an achievement or acquisition, or the good things people say or think about you. You have that momentary kick that fills you with thrills that you consider to be happiness. That isn't happiness. It is just like a drug high that is not equal to higher vibrational frequency. So that's what we're talking about. To rouse and sustain that happiness, you must wake up the belief and hold on to that belief that your happiness is not action-based. Number two, that your happiness doesn't come from the things others do or think about you. What you have will not be the source of your happiness. Your happiness is you. Your being alive, your being human is the source of your happiness. Now, the next thing, there are so many things that we make sure that you are happy. Now, others you already know, we've talked about them severally on this video. Talk about meditating. Okay, meditation is a way of stopping yourself from the mind flow. You are pulling back from the crowd and staying to teach yourself to observe the events of life. In other words, you stay out of the doing crowd You stay out of the quarreling and the arguing crowd. Come to the realization that it is not you who are the doer in your system. It is you who are the observer. When you occupy that observer role from time to time, you will be able to pull yourself away from the failures and successes of this life. And when you're able to pull yourself away from the failures and successes of this life, you will notice that your happiness is boundless. You don't have to have everything in the world to be happy. You don't even need them. They can never, ever sustain your happiness. Your happiness is you. And you have to connect with that you, because that you is on your inside. It's not dead. That child that ran all over the place screaming, just being happy for nothing, is still alive on your inside. Except that now you won't be running all over the place screaming like you once did, because you now have a measure of control. Then you didn't have full control. Now you have the control. You can actually keep the joy in, and you'll be beaming from the inside. And that is the source of maximum power. Power to do what? Not to control others, but the power to be able to control how you feel, control how to respond to the actions of life. When you are devoid of happiness, what you do is that you react. You don't respond, you react, because as it touches you, you flare. Happiness gives us the capacity to pull back, access situations very objectively, very sweetly, and you will say, oh, if they knew better, they wouldn't have done it. It's because they don't have the kind of pool that I have. My pool is ever overflowing with joy and bliss, and you become empathetic and you express your love towards them and move on. Your happiness is a stream of life connected to the tributary of the supreme ocean of life, and that tributary is your higher self, the soul, and that soul is connected to the ocean of being. Now you can say with confidence, when you have gotten to that state of being, that I and the source are one. Like if you go and check, if you do some research regarding oceans, they will tell you that all the oceans of this world are one. Yeah, and every single body of water that is on this earth, they all flow right all the way down to the ocean. So it's a statement of how our lives truly are, that we are not separate, we are not distinct from the source. The source and us are one. Every living form is connected to the source. When you have this understanding, which is the biggest understanding, which is the biggest source of happiness, you will not have antagonism. You will not have a sense of duality to the extent of thinking that certain forces, certain people, certain beings in certain realms of life are your enemies, that they are sworn to destroy you. Such things doesn't happen, because the higher you go, the more you come to the understanding that when you hurt one, you hurt yourself. There's something they call decreation. Decreation happens when an element of creation makes the move to destroy another element. That's when decreation happens, because whatever you do to one, you do to yourself. And whatever you do to yourself, you do to all. All is connected. This is why we encourage people to embrace the tenets of love, because love understands that we are all one. If you have that understanding, therefore what then happens is that fear of danger does not exist. The idea of being detached from power, from the source, no longer exists. Then where will your fear come from? And when you have no fear, why won't you be joyful? Fear is one of the elements that clogs our happy valve. When it is removed, you find out that there is nothing to be afraid of. And you see, this self-knowledge that people are seeking, people say they want to find, it is not far away anywhere else. Your knowledge of yourself is inside of you. All that is required is to connect with it. That is the supreme knowledge. When you have that supreme knowledge, then you realize that the Almighty, the source, is the easiest to know and the easiest to find, is right with you all the time. You know, my master says this. He said, the Almighty God is right in the same room with the Son. Who is the Son? You. It doesn't matter whether you are a boy or a girl. It doesn't matter whether you are male or female. You are all sons and children of the Most High God. Now, the truth is that the Almighty and you are in the same temple, in the same room, in the same temple. All right? The temple of this body. But you don't see eye to eye. The Almighty is watching you every time, waiting for the moment you will identify with it. And that will be the day of you discovering who you truly are, a true son of God. There's no need to start reading it in a book or hearing it from me. It is for you to actually experience it. Now that knowledge of self is the knowledge that conquers all, that ends all suffering. And the road to that knowledge is perpetual happiness and perpetual joy. It is laden with bliss. Yes, there are challenges in life, but when you hit bliss, all those challenges become one of the challenges a great footballer, a great runner, a great athlete sees on his line of duty. It's what it is. So, happiness is something that you allow. It's not something that you do. It's not something that you create. It's not something that you have. You have to make an allowance for it. It is already there. It's your nature. Make peace with it. And then you will be glad that you did. So the first and foremost thing is that your joy doesn't come from actions. Your happiness doesn't come from what you do. It doesn't come from what you have. Success, failures, whatever it is, should not affect your happiness. When your happiness can come only by you doing things, only when you achieve certain milestones in life, then it is no longer happiness. It is a usurpation of your happiness. And happiness is life tugging on your inside. It is the source, God as you may call it, connecting, sending the barbs of being to you, sending signals of God's support to you. Having this understanding that the source or God loves you infinitely. What it means when you get to this point to realize that happiness is not based on what you have done or what you have acquired or achieved, and that happiness cannot be depleted by your failure to acquire or to do, then you come to the conclusion that the source loves you irrespective of your good or bad deed. Now, this is the shocker that might go against the religious traditions. Your good action or bad action does not affect the love of the source, the love of the Almighty for you. It does not. That's why there's a song I know very well. I know from when I was much, much younger. It says, "There is no one like Jesus to me." You can replace Jesus now with the source, with the Almighty. There is no one like the Almighty to me. No matter how sinful I may be, I am going to my Lord to render my thanks. There is no one like the source, like the Almighty to me. Now, I want to also let you know this. The songwriter also wrote that song within the tradition of religion, which states that a human being can be sinful. I've said it before, this is another thing you need to know for you to rouse and sustain your happiness. You are not sinful. Religion told you that you are sinful, but you, my friend, are not sinful. The forces of life that intend to hold all of us chained to the rock of negativity tell us that we are sinful. The truth, my friend, is that your mind itself does not even accept that it is sinful. It will tell you, what you give me is what I applied. If what you gave me is wrong, therefore, it is that thing you gave me that is wrong, not me. In other words, you now ask yourself, who is now sinful? You say, I'm the one. I gave the mind these things. Yes, but you gave the mind these things. Before you're able to give the mind those data that are erroneous, which the mind processed to bring about your negative realities called sins, You were conditioned by the environment, by the society, to accept those data as the right data for that period of time. Therefore, it is not also your fault. You are not the sinner. You say it is the data from the society. Now you send the fault to society, but I'll tell you this again. On a larger scale, you realize that again, society is not at fault. The environment is not at fault. The environment was also conditioned by who? By the negative side, the ego side of the universal mind to do what it does. So where is our sin coming from? It is coming again from the universal mind, from the mind. You are not the mind. You are not the physical body. Therefore, the sins are not yours. This is what argument Paul was making in the Bible when he says, I delight in the laws of God after the inward man, the inward man. He said, if I do the things that I do not want to do, therefore it is not I who are doing those things. It's something else. And that something else is what Paul called the law of sin and death. Don't ever hold yourself responsible for the sins of your life, but take responsibility, because the sins couldn't have happened if you did not power them. You are the powering house for those things. Now, what you now have to do is to learn how to disempower sinful actions. In all of this, whether you have mastered the art of disempowering sinful action or not, it does not change the love of the Supreme, of the source for you. That is what it is. What makes the source happy? The source is perpetually happy. So what connects with the happiness of the source for you is when you wake up one day and desire, or you commit to know the truth of your being. That is when the joy becomes fullest. Understand this and know that you are more powerful than you think. And know that your happiness is a birthright. It's a concept right. Who is the conceptualizer? The source. You, as life, as a creative unit of life, you are an idea of the Supreme. The idea of a human being is not different from the human being at that time. But in the case of you, you are an eternal idea of the Supreme. All the powers of the Supreme are behind you to defend and protect you. You are weak, you are powerless, you are unhappy because you plug from that power. Don't ever plug from it, connect with it. And the things that make you plug from that power are your negative beliefs that are highlighted in this video. Let them go and embrace the truth, the real truth of your being, and your joy will never ebb. God bless you.
I'm